Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we are trying to discuss about the service discovery here. So how we configure this particular service discovery. So basically, we created one service here, so something like a Eruca service. And inside this particular Eruca service, now we are able to register the remaining services information here. Okay, so now again we'll try to identify each and every service. So starting all the services one more time. Now I'm trying to restart. So here you can see inside this particular services section, we can start one by one here. So once this particular, all the applications are started, now what I will do, so I will try to, come up with another important section basically. So this is we are going to discuss, in the today's session, something like service discovery, how we are going to come up with, so three different type of service discovery here. So Eric also it started and it's like something like configuration service is started. Now I will try to start with the license service. What are the classes are changed here? Okay, so and license service is also started. Now I'm trying to start organization service. Okay, organization service is also started. So all the services are started. So here you can see the 4 services are started. Now what I will do, so first I will go to the local host. So like what is the IP we are having? So 8761 port. Now you can see, so license service as well as organization service we are having. Now if I want to identify the license service, we need to click on this. Now here you can see, so environment, I think this is the environment we are having, and you can identify the health section. So it is up and running fine. Now what I will do, so I want to identify one of the important example call. Okay, here only I can copy this. After this particular Eruca, so if I try to give Eruca what we are getting, so nothing we are not getting, right? Now let's see. If I'm going to use this particular under the app section, if I'm going to use organization service, so you can see, so this is all about the organization information. Okay, so this is very important information. Now what we are doing is from inside this particular inside the Eruca, so this is the organization service is configured. Now what are the information is providing it? This is the XML configuration is trying to providing it. So something like instance ID, and this is the host, whatever the IP address we are having. And now you can see, so host and IP address are both are same here. Now what is the port is running? So 9090. Okay, so these are all the some additional information we are able to see. So by default, these are all the home URL and status page, so something like information. And now you can check this particular health section. So if you want to check this particular health directly, so copy this URL and you can come back to, you can paste it here. So it will try to provide the, so something like organization service up and running here. Okay, so this is the way of identifying the organization information. So from the Eruca, so same service, how we can identify, if we want to copy this particular license service and you can replace with the organization service. So this is the license service information. So here you can see, so license service. Okay, so this is information we can identify from inside this particular Eruca with the help of this particular path here. So this is the path is important. So after this particular Eruca apps, you can provide the whatever the services you configure under this particular Eruca. Okay, so now we'll try to identify another important section basically. So using this particular service discovery, we are going to run the service. So how we are going to run the service is, so if you observe, the two services we configure using the Eruca client here. Okay, so license service as well as organization service. Now what I will do, so without dependency, so without knowing where this particular either license service or organization service are running, now what I will do, with help of this particular Eruca, I am going to communicate it with both services, license service, organization service. So if you observe carefully, and here, so this is our license service and this is our organization service. So between, getting the pen. So in between, so this is the Eruca is configured. Now, whenever I'm trying to send a request here from the license service, first it is identified by this particular Eruca, and after this, it will try to go to this particular organization service. And the same way, if you try to hit from the organization service, now, so it will try to identify this particular Eruca, and after this, based on the IP address as well as the request information, it will try to connect it to the license service. So this is the way of communicating. So directly, this is also we can communicate here. But here, right now, we don't know what is the IP address and what is the name of this particular service. Okay, so if I want to communicate license service as well as organized service, we need to communicate with the help of this particular Eruca here. Now we'll identify how this particular Eruca is going to work. So if we want to identify this, again, we need to discuss about another three important concepts here. So the first one, we can go for the discovery client. Okay, so first we can discuss about this particular discovery client, and later, so we can go for the REST template, and the last section, so Netflix client. So here we are going to discuss one more client, so something like NC. We'll identify how these three concepts are going to use here. So if I want to communicate license service to this particular organization service, so internally we are using this particular Eruca. So from Eruca, getting the pen. So with help of this particular Eruca, we are going to send a request to the organization service. We'll try to load some data here. Okay, so if I want to make a request here, so we can go for this particular three options. Any one of the option we can use, and we'll try to identify how this particular each and every option is going to communicate internally. Okay, now, so first we'll try to identify the service discovery. Get in the pen. But if you observe carefully, without knowing of this particular main information, okay, so without knowing of this particular, the organization service, how it is communicating internally, so with help of this particular Eruca only, we are going to send in the request here. Observe here, and internally how these services are going to communicate here, so that we need to identify. So let me clear this, and for this particular section, now I am going to create a simple class. So I think we already created under this particular license service. Let me open the license service. So here you can identify what we are doing here. So we are trying to identify the get license here. Get in the pen. So here we are trying to identify the get license. So using this particular get license, now what we will do, what we are doing is, so we'll go to the get license, and internally with help of this particular, so find organization ID as well as the particular license ID. So based on this, now we are trying to send in a request. Now what I will do, so first I will go to the, now I will try to modify this particular section here. If you observe carefully, here we are going to discuss about the organization, and instead of doing this, we can create one more controller. So this one is the best one. So let me see, not require this because we already configured in the above section. Now what I am doing here, I am going to copy this. Here I am going to create a method. So get license with the client here. Okay, so this is the method. Now here what I am doing here, I am going to copy the license ID. Okay, and I'm going to copy after this particular license ID. So I'm going to provide the client to type here. Okay, so these are all the placeholder I'm trying to use here. Getting the point. So this is important here. Now what we can do, so client type is not console. Okay, so we can write here. So this section we are not going to use license here. So simply we'll go for the path variable and we can type with the license ID. Okay, string license ID, and so one more section we need to configure. So what is another section we can configure? So something like client to type. Okay, so client to type. Now these are all the two variables, and the above section we are already having this organization ID. Getting the point. So this organization ID. Now what we can do? So we need to copy this sections also. This sections also we need to configure. Now if you observe carefully, here I'm trying to add organization ID here. Okay, so three sections we are having here. Now here you can see client ID, license ID, and organization ID. So we can go for the get method. So this is the get method is fine because we are trying to load the data. So we are not saving any data. We can go for this. So now what I will do, I'm going to create a method inside this particular license service. So something like get license is already having, right? Now, so same one I can write here, organization ID, license ID, and client type. This particular method I'm going to create here. So why is expecting? Cannot we create overloader method? Here we are having, right? Now what I will do, so one more method I'm going to create here, something like client to type. Okay, so in the license service, this error, now it is resolved. Now what I'm doing here, so this is important, we need to understand here. So after creating this particular service, now inside the service we created the method. Now what we are going to do here, we are going to provide this particular information here. Getting the point. So now this is important section. Let me go to this. So here I'm not going to write anything here. This we already identified in the law section. So not required this instead of comment or not required. Now here, based on this particular organization ID client type, so we are going to load the data. So what is the data we are going to load? So something like organization data we are going to load. So something like so retrieve organization data, and here I'm going to provide organization ID and client type. Okay, so organization ID and client type here. So if I want to provide this particular organization ID and client type, so now whatever the client type you are going to provide here, now I'm going to create a method here. So this method I'm trying to create here. So EVG, right? So here, okay, so this is the method I'm trying to create here. Now after this, I can go for the something like so the client type I'm going to provide with different cases here. So in that case, now what we can do? So let me use a switch case. So switch case I'm trying to use client type. Okay. So this is the switch case I'm trying to use, and here I'm going to define the case. So first case, now what we will do, discovery. Okay, so this is the case, we can go for it. So this is I'm going to provide whenever we are trying to send any request. Now, so once I provide this particular case, now what we can do, here I'm going to provide the like logic here. So once this particular case is satisfied, now what I will do, so first we can go for this particular out. Okay, sys out here. Now here I'm using the discovery client. Okay, so I'm trying to use this particular discovery client. Now what I will do, here I'm going to provide the method. So organization discovery client. And here, now what we can provide here, getting the pen. So here, okay, so instead of doing this, we can go for the class here. Okay, let me write one second. So here I'm going to create one service here. So what is the service we can create it? So now something like okay, let me add a client package. Here I'm going to add one more client package. So this particular client, basically it will try to have whatever the, sorry. Okay, this particular client package will contain the whatever the three discovery clients whatever we are trying to discuss here. So I'm going to add inside this particular client. So first one, whatever I'm trying to copy, this I can copy here. Organization, so discovery client. Okay, so now what is the information we can identify inside this particular discovery client here? Now, first we are going to have component this. We need to add the component of this particular class here, and internally, so private. Do we have any discovery client here? This one, right? Netflix. So we are having two sections: org, Spring Framework, Cloud or Discovery dot. Okay. So this we need to use and do discovery client. Now after this, now what I'm doing here, so public organization discovery client, and this is I'm going to copy. So this dot discovery client is equals to discovery client here, and here I'm going to make auto byte. So after providing this particular information, so here we are going to provide the like organization information. So how I'm trying to send the request here, this is important here. Here I can write so organization we can copy from the organization service, and after loading this, get organization. So it is going to take as a one parameter called organization ID. Okay, so organization ID. Now with help of this, now first what I will do, here I'm going to provide the, so I'm trying to load the get instance here. So how I'm trying to load this? So discovery client dot get instance. Now here we need to provide the service ID. So what is the service ID? So now first we need to identify this particular service ID, how we provided. Let me go to the application.properties, organization service. Okay, so this is the organization service ID I'm trying to provide here, right? After providing this, now it will try to load the control alt to B. So list of service instance. Now what we can identify, service instance list. Here we can write to service instance list here. Okay, so this is we identified. After identify this, now what we can identify, we can check here. So simply, if do we have any map utils? No. Any commons utils, or we can identify. Okay, no problem. Service instance dot. If it is empty, so simply we can return null. Getting the point. So if we are getting this particular service instance directly, we can return null. So that the organization we cannot load here, because whatever the instance we are trying to load, basically this will try to load from the Erukai here. Because based on this particular service ID, we configured inside this particular Erukai here. Okay. So if we are getting this particular service instance list, now what we will do, we need to identify this particular sections here. So how we configure inside this particular organization service, first we need to identify where the organization ID controller we are having. We are having only one method, right? Now what we can do, we need to write one more method. So how we can write one more method here to load the data from the database. So if I want to load this particular data from the database, now what we need to identify here inside this particular organization service, so we need to go to the one more REST endpoint here. So this particular REST endpoint, basically what it will do, it will try to provide the public after this particular organization. So instead of writing this, just copy the saving one, whatever we added here. Okay, and here, so directly I can write organization ID. So path variable, and here what we can type this organization ID and organization ID. Okay, so organization service. So here we can write get organization. We can write here organization ID. So instead of this particular save org, get organization. Okay, so here we can make as a get request, and let me create the method. So directly return what is we are having, organization repository dot find by ID what we are having. So find by ID we are getting here organization ID. Okay, so this is the organization ID we are getting. Now, so if we go to this particular repository, now what I am trying to write here, so simply this method is expecting optional. This is also fine. Optional is expecting, right? If it is expecting optional, so here only we can identify it. Let me remove this. Control Alt V. What I'm getting? So this is I'm getting not required this. So here organization repository by ID. Repository by ID. Okay, so we can write here organization. So after this, we can check this particular optional. If it is present here, so simply return organization dot get here. So return null. Okay, so this is the way of implementing it. Now you can see, so because of this particular optional, now we are checking if this particular object is present. Now we are trying to return this particular object. Otherwise, it will return this particular null. Okay, so this is the method we implemented. Now we'll go to this particular organization controller. So what we are doing is, so this is the path here. Okay, so this particular path we need to use under this particular discovery client. Okay, organization I'm going to copy later. So we'll see here. So string dot format I'm going to use, and what is the format we can go for it. Here I'm going to provide this. Get in the pen. And okay, so instead of adding this particular format, it is not required. Directly we can load this. If we observe carefully, service instance list dot get the first object I'm trying to load, and get URI. So we are going to get this particular URI. So after loading this particular URI, now what we will do? So now I'm trying to make this get URI dot to string. So now it will convert it into the string. So this section we can make as a URL. Okay, so this is the URL. Now what I'm doing is, after this particular URL, now we need to append here. So URL dot concat we are having. Okay, so this is the URL we are having. After this, after URL, now what we can identify this? So V1, right? Now this is the V1 I can provide here, and so one more concat. Here I'm going to give the slash, and here I'm going to provide the value something like organization ID. So this is the final URL we constructed. Now after this, now what we can do? We need to send in a request here. So to whom we are trying to send the request? We are trying to send the request to the organization service to load the data from the organization service. Now you can see what I'm doing here. Here I'm going to provide the REST template. First time here I'm trying to create the REST template object. So REST template is equals to new REST template here. Okay, so using this particular REST template, now I'm going to send the request here. REST template dot. So which method we can provide? Exchange here. So we can go for the exchange here. Now here, so URL. So URL we can provide. After providing this particular URL, we can go for the HTTP method. The HTTP method, basically it is a get method. And after this, any HTTP entity, because of this particular get method, we are not going to use anything. And after this, now what we are trying to providing here? So something like a organization class. So if I want to provide organization, first I want to copy the organization. Okay, so I want to copy this particular organization. So whenever, if I want to copy this organization, let me go for this particular organization. So JPA, come back here and so I want to copy this entire class here. Copy and go to this particular license service. Where is the model? We can paste it here. Same organization. Okay, so we copied this particular organization. Now here, import this organization, and here I'm going to provide the organization.class. So finally, this data is going to return from the organization service. So first here, we need to identify how this URL is constructing. So this is important here. So once this particular URL, so that later we can identify the object creations, all information. Okay, so this is the sending URL. Now response entity. After this particular response entity, directly return response entity dot get body. This body will contain the organization. Okay, so this is the URL we constructed. Now we are trying to send the request to the organization service. How we are sending? First, we are loading the organization service like a URL information. It's like a host information, and we are appending this particular organization. So this particular the path here, whatever the main path we are having, we are appending. After this, the organization ID we are setting. So now, with help of this particular organization ID, now we are loading the data from the organization ID, and the same data we are trying to setting back to the license here. Okay, so this method we can call. Now we'll go to the license service. So here we can append with what we are creating. So organization discovery client. Okay, so this section, now again I need to configure here. So this dot organization client is equals to organization client. Okay, so after this, now here anything we are missing, any wrong? So where is maybe this method is not saved here. Okay, it should be public. It should be public. So because of this, maybe the method is not coming here. Now here we can write the organization ID. Now what you are able to see here, we are trying to load the organization information. Okay, so now we'll go back to this particular inside this particular service here. So we'll try to identify here. Now what we are doing is, so here I can write organization. So the same organization here I'm trying to use. Okay, so finally, where we are calling this, so this should be return this organization instead of void. Return what we are getting. Okay, so initialize the value. Okay, so this is the way of loading this particular client type. Now, where we are using this particular client type here, we are using this. So after this, now we are loading this organization information. So after loading this particular organization information, now what I will do, here I'm going to modify some fields inside this particular license. So let's see, this is also not required here. And first I will go to the license class here. And inside this particular license class, now again, inside this particular license class, I'm going to provide the some whatever the fields. So these are all the different fields we are having. Now again, I'm trying to write different fields here. organization ID, something like a product information. Instead of providing this, can I modify the changes or okay, so instead of returning this, so okay, now let me add we'll try to go for the with related sections here. What are the properties we can add? Organization ID we are having and product name. So what we are having inside the organization class, name, email, phone, right? So this should be set the information to this. Okay, instead of setting what we can do, okay, let me create a same properties inside this particular license class so that we can add here. Now what are the properties we are having? Organization. Okay, these are all the properties. So name, email, and phone. So these three I am going to set inside this license service. Return. Now what we can do? Here we can write the license information. So whenever I'm trying to write this license information, okay, here only we can set here. So public license with what we can identify organization ID. With organization ID and string organization ID. And here now what I will do? So set organization ID, organization ID. And here return this. So it will try to return the current class. One method we are trying to write here, second and third something four method we are having with organization name. So here I'm going to provide the, you can write organization name. Set name is equals to organization name. And what is another? So with organization, with organization email. Email. So now here I'm trying to set email is equals to email. And finally organization phone. Okay, so here I'm trying to write the phone section. So now set to phone here. So these are all the four the particular with related method I'm trying to return here. Now we'll go to here. So inside this particular license service, now what I'm trying to write here, I'm trying to create this particular license class, and inside this particular license class directly we are going to return this. Now if we observe here, we are trying to constructing here, right? Now what I am trying to provide organization ID and client license ID. So what we are having is organization ID and license ID. So what is the organization ID we are trying to save? So in the license table, I think we are going to get the data. Okay. So whenever we are getting this particular data, where is the license service? I will copy this. And here it will try to return the license. So this is the license we are going to get here, and here license dot with organization ID. So organization ID basically, so we are going to get from the organization ID, sorry, not organization, organization dot get ID, and email. So organization dot get email, and here I'm trying to write, so with name here, organization dot get name, and finally, so organization phone, organization dot get phone. So this is the objects I'm trying to return. So this is very important here. Let me make Control Shift Alt L. So I'm trying to make some format here. So everything, the format is perfect here. Now you can see, so this is very important, the class we are creating here. Now finally, here we are trying to communicating the license database, and here we are trying to communicating organization service organization database here. Okay, so this is the way of loading the data here. Now what I will do, here I'm going to rerun this particular two services. What are the two services we need to rerun here? First one is license and service here. So second one is organization service. So license service I'm trying to rerun in the debug mode. Okay, so at the same time, organization service, I think it is not required because we define the most of the data in the license service. Okay, so later, I think so no changes in these three classes. Okay, finally, what happened? We'll go for the select star from LO.license here. So first object we inserted, and at the same time select star from LO.organization. So here these are all the two IDs. So first one is like organization ID, license ID. So we'll copy these two sections. Now you can see, so start a license service. So without getting any exceptions, successfully the applications are started. Oh my God, so it's updated the table. Okay, so anyway, the columns are updated here, but anyway, so no problem. So we'll try to insert these three columns also. Now finally, what I want to provide, first I want to copy this. So what is the license ID? Let me go to this. So card user information, not this. I think we can copy this. We can copy, and okay, instead of copying here only, we can send the request here. But to send this particular request here, so directly we need to use a organization ID, right? Now we are going to copy Eruka. So license service. Now copy this. Okay, so this is something like a license service organization ID. So what is the organization ID we are having? So we need to go to the database. This is the organization ID. So instead of this particular organization ID, I'm trying to modify with the organization ID and license ID. Okay, so license ID. So where we can provide the license ID? So this one, right? This is the license ID we are having. Now let me open this. So organization ID we passed here. After license, now we are going to pass the license ID as well as client type. So client type, what is the condition we provided? Now the condition we need to identify here. So it is discovery. Okay, so now it is replaced with if condition. So later we can modify this. Okay. So here, sorry, discovery. Okay. Now I'm trying to send in a request here. Now you can see the request is received here. So this is the get organization is calling. So from where it is calling, so you can see the path. Now if you go to here, this is the licensed ID and the client type. Now you can see this is the license ID. And you can see organization ID and client type discovery. Okay. So three, whatever the path variable we provided, so all the three variables are loading. Now after this, now we are calling the organization. Now here you can see license ID we are getting null. Okay. So we can change this. Maybe instead of using this, we can go for the find by organization ID, right? Uh, okay, let me stop the license service. Okay, instead of stopping this, we can go for the public license find by IDs find by ID. So here string ID. So why I'm getting this? Okay, so instead of using this, by default it is providing. Now let me go to the license service. So instead of using this, so we are getting an exception like object is null. So find by ID. Okay, so now only I'm trying to give license ID. So whenever I'm trying to give the license ID, so it's not going to give this section. So just now we identified it will try to give the optional section. Optional license dot if present here, what we can identify, if it is present here, so simply we can return this. Okay, so we are not going to do. Entire this section. Why we are getting this? Could not find the local variable. This. Okay. So later we can discuss. Simply add the condition. So optional is present. Now, if it is present, so return license, right? So how we can return this instead of license? We can go for the license here, and here we can simply return null. Okay, so if this particular optional is present, now we are trying to construct this. Now let me click on the effect. So maybe we could not get the data because of this license service is null. So we'll get a null pointer exception. Now you can see. So we are getting 500. Now if you observe the console, 404, what we are getting here? Not found. So okay, slash also it's missing here. Okay, this also we can identify later. But let me rerun this. The license service I'm trying to rerun in the debug mode. Okay, so application is started. Here we can see. Now again, I'm trying to send in a same request here. Now we'll go to here. We'll come back to here whether we are able to see the data. So okay, so license is available. Here you can see license. This is the license object. Because this data is not available, now we are going to import from the organization here. Okay, so this is the data we are able to see. License data is coming. Now we are calling the retrieve this particular organization. Under this, we are having this. So let me come back to the next line. Now I want to identify the URL. So if you see, okay, I think it is not concatenating. Okay, now I understand. So finally, if I'm going to use this, so we'll identify how this section is implemented. Here I'm going to, because of this concat, it is not concating all the information. So we are able to see the organization ID and this is. Let me add this string dot format. I'm going to use the format here, and the format basically %s, and I can add the same whatever we are having. After this %s. So this is we are going to copy, and this is the second parameter I'm trying to copy here, and after this, so organization ID. Now we'll identify this how this is going to construct here. Let me evaluate here. Now here you can see, so STPP, so 192 is IP address, so 9090 our port number, and organizations. After the organization, this is the organization ID. Okay, so the string format now it is constructing here. So because of this, here we can go for the URL. So these two sections we can remove here. Okay, so if it is null, we are going to return this. Otherwise, we'll go back to here. Now, because of this, we are getting some exception. Now, let me rerun this particular service one more time. So somewhere is expecting this. Okay. Semicolon is expecting. Now go to the service, debug this. I think so. We did not changes any file inside the organization and the configuration services. Okay, so now it is started. It is completed here. Now let me go to the same section. Now I'm trying to send the request here. Why I'm getting? Oh, I'm running in the debug mode, or okay. So let's see why we are getting this. Select statement HTTP client error exception. I'm using the discovery client is printing the message. So what is the message we're having? Phone not found. Okay, so the page is not finding here. Basically, what we identify. Let me go to the organization. So click on the organization controller. First I will identify. Okay, first I will go to this whether the URL is same or not. Now go to the discover service. Here I'm putting a breakpoint. Clear the console. Send in a request one more time. Now copy the URL Okay, so we'll go to the another section of this. Okay, I will hit this. Now you can see, so it is giving the 404 because the path is wrong. Now what we need to identify here? So we need to identify what is missing. Go to the organization controller. So V1 organization / organization ID, right? What I'm giving? After organization, anything is missing? What is expecting? Any 2 slashes coming? No. V1 organization. It is same only. Why I'm not getting this? 404. Let me. Okay, let me keep this as a. Okay, so I'm thinking. So maybe these changes are not available in the organization service. Let me rerun this organization service. Okay, reload. Now, so I'm going to send the request here. So 405 method not allowed. Yes, we'll go to the get method. Now I'm trying to send. Okay, so now you can see we are able to get the data because the whatever the method we modified, so this method changes are not available in the this particular organization service. Now the changes are available. We'll go back to the debugger. So I think in all the services. Okay, so here we are having. Now what I will do, I will try from here, so in the debug mode, whether the data is coming or not. Now you can see organization data is coming. Okay, so now you can see Erica organization. So erica@gmail.com, and this is the phone number. Now you can see same information. So in our organization database. So erica@gmail.com, Erica organization. And if you want to understand so few more information, go to the organization, click on the console, select statement. Okay, select statements also generated. Now I'm coming back to the license service. I'm trying to go to the next line. So one more select statement we are able to see in the organization. So now you can see, so third select statement. Okay, so this is the data is coming. So now finally we are trying to communicating from the license service to the organization service, and we are loading the data from the organization database. So we are returning organization. So after this, now we are trying to constructing license information. So now this is the license object is constructed. So we are coming back to the end up method. So where we are trying to end up this is okay. This is only we provided. But ID, organization ID is coming, product name and license type. What happened? So why these 3 columns are making null? Okay, so something is missing here. New license. Okay, got it. So whenever I'm trying to make new license, so this particular optional license is not available. So this particular data, whatever we are trying to load, this particular data is not available. Now, so instead of doing this, instead of this particular new, directly we can go for the get. So this is the way we can write here. Now let me rerun one more time the same license service here. Okay, so it is completed. So one more time I'm trying to send in a request here. So click on F9. Now going back to here, all the data is printing. So this particular object is containing organization object as well as the license object here. So we constructed one object inside this particular license here. So to find out the organization information. Okay. So this is the way of communicating. Getting the point. So this is the way of communicating this particular objects information here. And another important section we need to identify. So first we identify the discovery client. So using this particular discovery client, now what we are doing? So just we are trying to load the instance here. So using this discovery client, we are loading the instance. So this instance is trying to load from the Eruka. Getting the point. So whatever the Eruka server we configure here. So from here we are trying to load. So it is containing IP address with the port number. And after this is the URL we are appending here. Getting the point. So this is the URL we are appending. After this is our organization ID. Right? This is the way of loading the data from the database. Now we'll go for the another important section here. Okay. So now what we can identify here. So another important section basically discovery client here. So where we are going to provide this particular discovery client. If you go to here, so one more, the second one we can identify. So instead of doing this particular first one, now what is the second one we are trying to discuss here? So something like REST template. So how we can identify the REST template? So this is another important section we need to identify. So to identify this particular REST template, first we need to go for the same class. Okay, so same class we can create and just we can come up with a where I'm trying to create. So here I'm trying to creating an object. So instead of creating this particular object, now what you can do in our license service, where we are having license service application. So here we can type the bean here. So public REST template. So return REST template. Bean. Okay, so this is the object we can create. So directly whenever we are trying to discuss here, so not required this. So this REST template is not required. So directly here we can go for the REST template. Make auto-wire section. This dot REST template is equals to REST template here. Okay, this is we need. Now if I'm going to rerun in the same debug mode here, now we'll identify. Now we'll try to identify without creating this particular REST template object multiple places. So simply we are going to hit this particular object here. Okay, so license service is created. Now I'm trying to send. So same data, it's printing. Now if you want to understand, so this is the license service. So I'm trying to use a discovery client. Now if you go to the organization, here now you can see one more select statement here. Okay, so this is the way of creating the REST template in the main file here. Because so here we are not using any, another important section called configuration. So because the configuration is available under this particular section. Getting the point. So here, so Spring Boot configuration. So internally it is trying to use a configuration. Because of this particular configuration, we can configure the any type of beans here. Okay, so this is, we need to understand very clearly here. So because of that, I am creating the REST template here in the main file. We are not getting any exceptions. So this is a way of also creating this particular main files here. Now, so simple discovery client we identified. So I missed to explain this particular discovery client to annotation. So this is basically, it will try to enable the discovery client. So if you are using this particular discovery client to annotation, what happens internally? Whatever we are trying to identify this section, the discovery client object is going to create it internally. It will try to load the services, whatever the services we are going to provide here. Okay, so same thing, the same code you can implement in the reverse format. So go to the organization service, so try to write the license service information and to provide the appropriate endpoint information and hit the with help of this particular REST template, and now we are going to get the data. Okay, so this is we need to identify. Now we'll go back to here. We'll try to identify the REST template. So I'm not interested to use this particular discovery claim. So if I'm not interested, how we can go for this particular REST template here? Okay, so to understand it, so simply we created REST template object here. Now I'm going to come up with one more class. So here I want to create this particular organization REST template class. Inside the client section, Java class, organization REST template client. Okay, so let me make this particular class as a component. Now this is important, we need to make component here. So after this, now what we can do, we can go for this particular whatever we are trying to make. So let me copy the first, I will go to the public section, organization REST template client here. Okay, so now this is the default constructor. Now we'll go to this section. So I'm going to copy the, so here I will make and this dot REST template is equals to REST template. So make as a auto while. So after making this, now what we can identify here, so directly we can hit this. So without any changes, so simply we can hit this. Now I'm going to make the same public organization so organization ID. After this, now what we can identify, REST template dot, so exchange method we can provide here, and here we can provide HTTP colon. So instead of providing this particular what we can call it as IP address, now I'm going to give the organization service directly. Okay, so now I'm going to provide the particular organization service. So how we can provide this particular organization service? So let me copy this directly. Here I'm trying to providing this. So HTTP colon organization service. So after this, now what we can provide? Go to the same section. And okay, organization ID. So this is the URL. So after this, we already identified this will go for the get method, and the third parameter we are making null. So after this, what we can provide? Organization class, and we can provide the organization ID. Okay, so this will return. So organization response entity. Okay, anyway, it's fine. Get body. So return. This is I'm going to send the request. So it's a simple one, but here instead of this providing the IP address, now we are giving the service name. So what is the service name? Organization service here. Now with the help of this, it will try to communicate the what is the post and the local host related information we are having. Now it will try to hit the data from the same whatever the database we used here. So now I'm going to use organization. We can copy this. So go to the where we implemented, so license service. Here retrieving data. Now here I'm going to check the else if condition. So what we can provide rest. Sorry. Now I'm going to provide the rest dot equals with the client type. And here I want to comment on this. So we can make final because we are not going to modify the changes here. And so here I'm trying to provide this dot organization rest template is equals to organization rest template. Okay, so using this, now what we can do here, we can construct organization template dot get organization, and what we can provide organization ID. Organization. Okay, so it will try to return the same data. Now this is we are going to provide here. So we don't have much information here. So simply we are trying to enable this particular section of code. Now we'll identify how we are going to provide this example here. License service only, right? Now rerun this particular debug mode. So reload this. Let's see. So this application is now started, and here instead of this particular discovery, now I'm going to select as a rest here. So let's see any data we are getting. So just I'm putting a breakpoint here. So to understand here, internal server we are getting. Okay, we need to identify what is an exception. So organization service is not identifying here. Okay, so host is not identifying here. Now this is important. So why this particular host is not identifying here? Rest template we created. Okay, what we are missing. So component to rest template we provided. Organization, it should load HTTP only, right? Okay, let's see in the Eruka what we are having. Organization service only. Organization. Any spelling mistake? Some service. Okay, it is correct. Now, if I'm going to okay, now I understand. So here, where is a license service application? So this is the bean. This bean, it should be load balancer. It needs to connect it with a load balancer here. Now let me rerun in the debug mode. Basically, the load balancer internally, it is trying to use the ribbon related load balancer. Now it will try to identify the Eruka service ID. Whatever Eruka service ID we have added, so it will try to identify. Okay, now I'm trying to clear the console of organization ID. Now I'm trying to send this. Now here you can see organization, it is able to see the organization information. And so click on F8. So you can see, so all the data is coming. Okay, so what we missed? So we missed this particular load balancer annotation. Basically, if I go to this annotation, now which is coming from the cloud.client.load balancer. Now what is doing basically, it will try to communicate all the Eruka service IDs. So because of here, we did not provided any the appropriate IP address here. So IP address are hosted. Just we provided service name here. Getting the point. So this is only the service name we provided here. Because of this, the load balancer internally, it will try to identify the Eruka service ID. So once this particular service ID is identified, now it will go to this particular port information. So from this particular port, it will try to communicate all the applications and it will try to load the data. Now, if you want to understand, here you can see, so one more select statement here. And internally, here you can see, so in the console, only the select one. License one, we are able to see this particular statement. Because organization, we are trying to load from the organization service here. Okay, so another important section. So if you are not using this particular load balancer, so I want to explain this. If you are not interested to use this particular load balancer, now what we can do, simply go to here, so you can provide the IP address. You can provide the IP address of your applications. So if you are interested, you can provide the localhost colon 9090. You can give the same information. It will try to connect here. It will try to connect and it will send it will try to load the data from the database. So instead of doing this, so we can go for the Eruka. From the Eruka, we can make any request here. So everything we are going to communicating with help of this particular Eruka server. So this is the two sections. So first what we identified the discovery client. Now we are trying to identify the REST template. So now we'll go for the Netflix. So another important section, the Feign client. So we have another important one we are going to use. So we have three ways we can use this particular the Feign related sections here. So if I want to use this particular Feign, now we need to enable the one annotation. So this is also I am going to add here only. Enable what is annotation is not available. Okay, it is not available. Why this is not coming? Any jar we are missing? So I want to comment on this and let me write. Okay, discovery client we are having. So okay, so let me identify this. So from which package it is trying to identify here. First I want to go to this. Okay, so basically it should available without providing any additional jars here. So maybe in the latest version they're moved into with the different versions, I'm thinking. But let me identify. So let me go for the Google. Why it is not loading? Enable. Okay, so we can go for the Maven dependency. So do we have any? Okay, yeah. So I think we need to add this open pages. So they moved into this section here. So open pages. So we need to add this particular starter. So where we can add this under the license service. So cloud config Eruka client. After this, inside the Eruka client, this is not available. So this is available in the this section. So once it is built, we'll try to identify open page in. Now inside this, we are going to add the particular annotations here. So importing the Maven packages, go to the license service. So here we are having. Now it is moved to the different packages here. Because of this, it is coming from the open page in, and this is the annotation. So what it will do basically this, it will try to see whatever the ways of this particular, the remaining, the discovery client as well as the particular REST template is working here. So same way, it will try to identify the same information, but it is one of the alternative to this particular, the ribbon, whatever this particular load balancer ribbon we identified just now. So here, what we will do, instead of using this particular REST service directly, we are going to provide, so the important section call, directly we are going to provide the value here. So with help of this particular annotation, so again we are going to load the service. So we have a one more service. Let me create here the client. I'm going to create first. Organization Feign client. Okay, so this is the Feign client. We are going to use component, and here only we can write the annotation, something called Feign client. So here we can specify the same whatever the organization we implemented here. So go to the discovery client. So copy the organization service. So if you go to this organization, here we can find. So observe carefully. So in the three different ways, but in any locations, what we are doing here, we are trying to providing service ID. Whatever the service we registered under the Eruka, the service ID only we are providing. So if you go to the discovery, and if you go to the REST template, or if you go to this particular, the Feign related section. So everything is working on the service ID. So once we provided this particular service ID, now we are going to hit this particular application. So after this, now what I am trying to providing it. So this is the particular class we created. Now we'll try to implement request mapping annotation. So directly we can go for organization. So what we can provide here, organization. Okay, so this is the organization. Now this organization basically it will try to expect the whatever the ID. So if you observe whatever we implemented, getting the point, whatever we implemented inside this particular organization service, so we can go for the same here. So something like a request mapping. So the request mapping, now what I'm doing here I'm going to provide the value. So this particular value, it should append with whatever we copy. So Feign client, it should append with this. So v1 dot organization. After this, we can go for the organization ID. And here, so what we can do, so same thing, path variable, and we can identify this organization ID inside this. and organization ID. Getting the point. Now, what you can identify, request mapping. So method also we should provide. Method, it should be get method. And so what it will try to return the object information. It will try to return the data call. So JSON. Application JSON. Okay, instead of doing this, we can go for here. Okay, so what are all the errors we are getting? Add a method body. Okay, so instead of this, we should make interface. Because of this, we are getting errors. Now, if you observe carefully, what we are doing is, so this is very important. We need to identify here. Getting the point. So inside this particular Feign related section, now we are not creating the class. So simply we are going to create the interface, and it will try to use this particular organization service, and it will try to connect to this particular organization data here. Now finally we are going to call this particular method, and we'll pass this particular organization ID value here. Okay, so now what we can do, go to the license service. So here we can select with one more else if section, and we are going to use this particular Feign and equals with the client type. Okay, and simply now what we can identify here, we need to go to the class section. What is the class section we can provide? So these are all the Feign related section. Now here I'm going to append this dot organization. Okay, and directly we'll come back to here. Organization is equals to get organization and organization ID. Okay, so these are all the three simple sections we are going to use here. Now I'm trying to rerun in the debug mode. So clear this particular console. Reload the changes. Okay, so now here I'm going to send instead of this particular rest. So the Feign related section I'm trying to providing here. Now click on F9. You can see data is loading. Okay, the particular data is loading. So these are all the different ways we can communicate the different services with help of this particular Eruca. So these are all the three services, like the three clients are going to supported by our Eruca service here. Okay, so first one we discuss the discovery client. Later we go for the REST template. Now we are trying to discuss about this particular Feign related sections here. So only the differences for this particular Feign. So just we are going to come up with annotations here instead of creating the particular example. Now if you go to this REST template, we are trying to providing the REST template dot exchange, and we are providing the URL and with the different parameters. But inside this particular Feign related, so simply we are trying to creating one method. But internally, this Feign client is going to implement the method and it will try to construct the with help of this particular organization service. So it is one of the advantage we are going to get. So here we are not going to write much code to communicate the organization service. So in the remaining two sections here, you can see we are trying to load the service instance, and based on the service instance, we are trying to call the REST template here. So most of the cases, we are going to follow the REST template here. With help of this particular REST template, we are going to provide the URL and different type of methods here. So either get method, put method, post method, whatever we are trying to use here. And whenever we are having any body parameters, we are going to communicate. So HTTP entity. So right now we don't have any methods. Because of this, we are not constructing here. Okay. So any questions on this? The different. Okay. So if we don't have anything, now I'm stopping it. So tomorrow we'll try to discuss about the another important sections. Getting the point. So what are the another important sections? So we are going to communicate with the circuit breaker. It's like a design pattern, but how these design patterns are implemented inside this particular microservices. So we are going to discuss about some of the circuit breaker pattern and fallback. So another one we are having bulkhead related section. So we'll try to identify these three sections in tomorrow's session. So once we identify, we are going to discuss about one of the important example called Joule related section. So using this particular Joule, how we are going to communicate the microservices. How we are going to communicate the microservices. So this is also another important section we are going to discuss here. So after this, the last example, the deployment section. So before going to discuss about the deployment, now we need to understand the Docker related. Now I'm trying to come up with the different ways communicating this particular microservices here. I'm trying to working on the Docker file creations here. I will let you know how the Docker file we can communicate internally. Okay. So tomorrow we are going to discuss with the different like it's like a circuit breaker patterns, how it is going to work internally. Okay. So if we don't have anything, so I'm going to close the session today and we'll continue tomorrow.